Okay, welcome back. This is a continuation of our menu system that will be calling different functions. This is the third part. Notice that we have several functions already declared in the very top. In here we have one that will display a menu, one will get a selection from the menu system. Then we have a get positive int, and then we have the same function only getting a positive double, which we are not going to be using at this time. We have a calculate the area of a rectangle and calculate the area of a circle. So when we first go into the program, we have a couple of local variables to main, and then we have a global constant called pi, which is 3.1416 in there, and that's used to calculate the area of a circle and the circumference of a circle. So when we first go in, we display the menu, and then we get a selection, and then we're just putting what the selection is over here. Then we're using a switch section to process it. Now notice that the selection is a character, so we need to, in our switch statement, we need to have a case 1 in there. So that is important that you put in the single quotes. So at this point in time, we are calculating the area of a rectangle by calling the function that does it for us, and we are assigning the value that's returned in the area rectangle and then printing it. Then we've done the same thing to calculate the area of a circle using pi r squared. So if we go into the display menu, it just simply displays our prompt for us for the menu, so we don't have to constantly be typing the same information. We can call it as many times as we want. Here is a selection that we're doing. So we're getting a prompt, enter the selection, and then we have it to upper because we are getting a character. And then any selection that is a 1, 2, 3, 4, or an X is a valid choice. So that means we need to set it, the needed choice, to false so that we can break out of the switch statement. Anything other than a 1, 2, 3, 4, or X is going to set the need choice back to true. And we've already set it to true, but it's best to be on the safe side so you don't have to ever worry about a wrong variable being set. So here we have, you're telling it invalid choice. And then we are going to later on create an error message that we can display to the user so we don't have to constantly continue to write code. So then once you put in a valid choice, then you're going to have a need choice is false. Our while is going to keep repeating as long as need choice is true. When once it's false, we're done. We break out, and then we go into return the function value of choice. Now, it's also good practice to put this in parentheses, but it is not a necessary thing. Also, I'm not doing it for time's sakes, but I would be putting in here what the purpose of the function is. So you would just have a line in here, and you would just put this function will, and basically you put something simple in there, get a character, and then actually continue exactly what it would do. That is very important. I'm not doing these in my videos to keep the video length pretty much down to as minimum as much as we can. You'd also put what these variables here are for. Sometimes they're really self-explanatory as to what they are, and then you would put a little explanation into it as well. Here our get positive integer is anything that's positive, it needs to be valid. Anything that's not positive obviously needs to be invalid. So what we have over here is we have an integer to get because we're getting an integer, and then we have the need data again, so which is basically the same as need choice, only I'm just calling it need data, no particular reason. Need data, need choice, need selection, all going to be the same thing. So we're doing a do. Remember, with a do, you're going to go through the loop at least one time. So we're going to do this as long as we need data. So we're getting a number, and all we care about is positive. So need data is the number is less than or equal to 0. Because we want something 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So we have this here. Tells us if this is true, then we're going to print an error message. If need data, you must enter a positive number. If it's false, meaning if you're doing anything 1, then this becomes false, so need data will be false, and we will break out of the loop, and I'm going to put an extra line over here. Getting the double is the same thing as getting a positive integer, only we're returning a double instead of a integer. And then we have the calc area of a rectangle, so we're using the length, the width, and the area to calculate it. So we don't have a value for length, we don't have a value for width, so we already have a function that asks you to put in a positive number. So we're assigning it in length equals get positive, and we have a prompt over here. So you can, at this point in time, put in whatever your own custom prompt is. So when you go to get integer, it passes the prompt as a parameter, and then the C out is going to be the prompt in there. So there's ways that you can do the same thing using different parameters, but not having to write a whole bunch of other code. And then we have the area of a circle. So we need to get the radius, and we need to make sure that the area of a circle is double. Since we're going to be multiplying by pi, it's certainly not going to come out as an integer. So we're getting a positive integer. What is the radius? And then we have the area circle is pi. Now up top, we included CMath. And you may see it from time to time as math.h, but this is the preferred method now in the C++ version 11. So you want to take care of that. Same thing with CC type. You could do ctype.h, but you really want to do CC type in here. That lets you do is alpha, is numeric, and a whole bunch of is things on characters. And so what we're doing here is we're getting the area of a circle. We get the radius in here. We're assigning a radius. And remember, it's pi r squared. So what we're doing is here, area circle is pi times the power. Since we included the math, the CMath, we have a pow function, which is the power. So what do we want to increase by a power? We want to do the radius, and then we want to square it. If I were to put a 3, then it would be cube of 4 in here. So it's going to get the radius and square it and return it into this, and then we have a multiply it by pi. So that takes care of this. So now we have other things we need to do. So the first thing is the circumference of a circle. So for circumference of a circle, it's pi times the diameter. So let's go and create a calculate circumference. So we'll put in calculate area circle, and we're going to do double, and we'll call it calc circumference. I am not putting in circumference of a circle. As far as I know, the only circumference is in a circle. So let's go and create the function here. I'm not a big fan of using this yellow thing, so I'll just close this, and I'll go back down to where it is. And alright, so what we need here is we need a diameter, and we need pi. So that's very simple. So we're going to create an integer diameter. Now if you wanted to make it the diameter double, what we would do at that point in time, instead of calling get positive integer, we would call get positive double. So we're going to put that as 0, initialize it. Then we need a double, and we need a circumference. And a lot of times I'll put 0.0 just to let you know that it's a double, but in reality 0 and 0.0 are the same. So the first thing we need to do is get the diameter. So the diameter equals, and we're going to just get positive int, and we're going to send a prompt is, what is the radius, rather the diameter of the circle. And I put again must be positive. And we could modify the get positive integer to also add must be positive. So let's leave it for now right here. And then once we get the diameter, just remember the circumference equals pi times d, which in this case is the diameter. And we need to make sure to return the diameter. So this should look good. So let's go back up and call this function in number 3. And we do not have a diameter here. So let's create one. Actually, we need circumference. And I believe that I passed the wrong thing, so we need to go back to fix that. So let's go back to the function that I just wrote. We want to return circumference. And we'll go back up here. And we're going to do the circumference. Equals calc circumference. And we will just do see out the, and we don't need to set precision again to do because it's already set, but I'm going to set it anyway because in case we set precision to something different somewhere else, then this will ensure that this is always going to be 2. You know, one extra statement in there is definitely not going to make your program run any slower. So if you can tell the difference between 1/billionth of a second and 1.1 billionth of a second, then you are absolutely amazing. So then we want to do the circumference of a circle, or the circle, is circumference, and I'll put an end line in, which I normally never do because I don't remember to do it. So let's go and add that to here. And we did it here. So let's go and check the area of, actually let's set the circumference. Now, the reason why we're getting this red line here is because we did not put in, or technically I did not put in, the parentheses, which you need to call a function. So let's run this with number 3 and see how we do. It's taking a bit of time, but there we go. So we want to do the circumference of a circle. So we're pressing 3. Your selection is 3. What is the diameter of the circle? Let's do 10. So since we're doing pi d, it should be 31.416. So let's see what happens. So 31.416 is actually 4.2 because the 6 will make the 1 go to a 2. So that works good. That takes care of this. So I'm going to cut this video off right now, and we'll just do the next one. We'll do the, see what the next one is, the area of a triangle. So that is it for this video. So I will remake another video, and I believe we'll be up to part 4.